Hello again, and welcome to Super Deluxe Gamescast for Thursday, April 23rd. If you're not aware, SDGC meets right here each and every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we discuss the latest gaming headlines with a wide variety of panel members and guests. We also do a whole bunch of other stuff as time allows, like a separate show about movies and television, pre-recorded content, and a bi-weekly morning show every other Friday that we haven't done in like 2 months. I probably need to change that. If you've been along for the ride so far, welcome home. And if not, hey, feel free to stick around and maybe throw us a sub. Every single podcast is archived the next day on our YouTube channel for those who like to watch. And you can find us on all major podcast services for those who like to listen. Good evening, everyone. It's another lovely Thursday night, and I am very excited about this week's podcast because Final Fantasy VII was a formative game for me growing up. I first played it when I was 16 years old. It got me through some rough times at high school. I've probably played this game about, 37 times throughout my life. It's one of my most replayed games, and so when I played Final Fantasy VII Remake, I was completely blown away at how well Square Enix nailed it. And I never imagined that we would actually get the voice actress for one of the most iconic characters in gaming. It's something that was very personal to me and important to me growing up on our podcast. But we are joined tonight by Briana White, who is the voice of Aerith Gainsborough in Final Fantasy VII Remake. Briana, thank you so much for taking some time out to join us. I know you're very busy.
My pleasure. I'm very excited to be here.
This is so cool. Okay, so I'm already nerding out. Okay, so what we're gonna do is, so Briana's got 45 minutes because she is very busy. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna ask Briana what she has been playing this week. I think I probably already know the answer to that. And we're gonna talk a little bit about her career, how she got her start, where she sees herself going, and we're gonna launch into some questions both from ourselves and from our audience. And so Briana, why don't you tell us what you've been playing this week? I'm really confused as to what that might be.
Right. Who could guess what I would be playing this week? I have been playing Final Fantasy VII Remake.
No, I don't believe you.
I know. Why would I play that game?
I don't understand. How far are you in?
Let's see. I just finished chapter 6.
That's okay. So
we're in. Oh, so before we keep on going, I saw some talk about spoilers. What's the spoiler status?
So
we're going to try to keep them to a minimum unless it's like very important to the conversation. Then we can kind of just give a little warning, but just keep it kind of conversational if something big comes up.
Super well-established FF7 stuff.
Right, because that's the question. Like, we're talking about spoilers of a game that's 20 plus years old, but spoilers for the new content maybe.
Right.
I don't know.
So we'll just try to keep spoilers to a minimum.
Sure. Okay. So then I'll just say I'm in chapter 6 and I'm on a mission with some friends.
So is this is your first time? So like this is your first time playing the game. Do you know what comes next? Like, do you know about because I'm unfamiliar with how the voice how reading lines work, and I know that you know what's come for Aerith, but are you aware of what happens for all the characters?
I would say that it was a little bit segmented in the process of it. It wasn't step by step, and I don't have any knowledge of any scenes that I'm not in. So all of that is new to me as I'm playing the game, with the exception of knowing a general story arc, and with the exception of what I have played and what I have seen and what I know of Final Fantasy VII from back in the day.
Now, sorry, you continue. I was going to say, I'm actually curious. So when you were doing your lines, I don't know if they had you do, if they actually had traditionally in animation at least, you would have something to try to lip sync along with. And I'm curious as to whether or not you even got to see the scenes that you were voicing out in that kind of way to try to match pre-existing lip sync or not.
That's tough. I'm not supposed to talk about anything that isn't public knowledge already.
Fair.
And what is public knowledge is that in game development, specifically for games like this, sometimes you have picture and sometimes you don't. So it completely depends on where in development the game is and where it lives. So while I'll say some things are not going to be a surprise to me, some things still very much are. But even separately from that, from the recording process is even if I had seen every moment in the game during the recording process, it would still be a joy and a surprise. And it still is a joy and a surprise to see it all come together. There's so much magic that happens in a finished product because especially in this game that was so well done. I mean, I think in my playthrough, I've said, and I'm streaming it on my Twitch channel. So I think in my playthrough, I've said the words well crafted probably 8 billion times.
Do you mind plugging your channel? Where can people go to watch you play?
Sure. They can watch my Twitch channel at twitch.tv/thestrangerebel.
And so it's interesting that you phrase it like that, because I would think working on a game in that capacity would kind of be like a chef where you just get tired of the food. Does playing it after doing all the voice work come off as different than playing a normal game?
Not at all. Not at all. There are some moments where I forget that I'm even in this game and I just get to completely enjoy it, completely lose myself in it and enjoy it as a player. And it calls me back to other epic games that I've played, like God of War, like Final Fantasy 15. And yes. I get to enjoy it equally and to that extent just as much.
Oh, that's awesome.
Also, I don't know a single chef who like gets tired of food though.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
No, I mean, like, you know how if you eat the same thing over and over
But
again?
that's not what a chef does. They cook.
They could be. My metaphor is perfect.
Your analogy makes no sense, Finn. It makes no sense.
I make one steak, but I make it so well.
I make it, yeah. So Briana, it sounds like you are familiar with the original game, like the original version of Final Fantasy.
I'm familiar with it. When I got the audition, I had never played it because I was a Nintendo girl when I was younger. So I didn't have access to any other consoles and any other games. And as I got older, I never really identified as a gamer. I played a lot of games. I spent a lot of time playing games. My whole family plays games, but we didn't like identify with it. It wasn't a part of our social interactions, I guess. So I had heard of Final Fantasy VII, but I had never actually played it. And then thinking about going back and playing an older game didn't really appeal to me when there's so many amazing new games coming out every year.
Right.
So since then, since I got the audition, I did tons of research. I've watched lots of cutscenes, Let's Plays. I've read every article. I've seen every character breakdown. I've listened to the voice actors. So even though I hadn't actually played it when the bulk of the work was being done, I was still very, very aware of everything that goes on in there. And of course, I was around conversations of it all the time. Then I started playing it a few months ago.
Okay.
So I'm about, in that playthrough, I think we met Aerith in the church. And I think that's where we left off, right about there.
You are in for a ride. It's still to this day, it's just such a classic game. And what's really interesting is since you haven't finished the original yet, it'll be really interesting to see your reactions to how Aerith's story arc plays out in the original game, vice what you know now of the role that you are, kind of like, the shoes that you're walking in. Yes. I think that's a really interesting contradiction.
It's sort of exactly inverse of how everyone else is experiencing Remake, because people play the original and then they get to play Remake and see what's similar, what's completely shot for shot the same versus what's really different about it. I get to know Remake that intimately and then go back and see the source material and have that experience of what's the same and what's different. It's super interesting.
Well, and it's really interesting too, and then I'll kick it over to somebody else. I know I'm grabbing the mic a lot, but my son turns 12 on Saturday, and he asked for Final Fantasy VII Remake, and I'm somebody, like, if you can't tell, I don't like Final Fantasy at all. Like, no, I'm not a Final Fantasy guy.
I can't tell any fucking details from your background, John.
Absolutely, whatever, man. But he asked for Final Fantasy VII Remake, and what's interesting to me is that this is going to be for him what the original Final Fantasy VII was to me. And it's going to be that way for a lot of kids and teenagers growing up now, and you are going to be a part of that, like forever. Like you are a part of their childhoods now. And I can't imagine how incredible and daunting that must feel.
It is incredible. It didn't become daunting when I first booked it. It became daunting somewhere in the middle of the work being done, when I started to come up against a lot of technical challenges, because it is a very technical process. It's very difficult and precise. And there were some days I was just so tired, and I just thought, gosh, I can't do this. They picked the wrong person. And I had to, go home, cry it out, and then say, but I'm here, and I am going to be this character, and I'm the only one that people in this lifetime are going to get. Lifetime. I say lifetime. I mean, I'm only the Aerith remake of this lifetime.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna have to do it right, because they deserve that. And so there were so many moments like that were daunting, but I just had to overcome.
And you knocked it out of the park.
Thank you.
Seriously.
Thank you so much.
I am so overwhelmed by how good this game is, and by how well all the characters, not just Aerith, but how well all the characters are articulated. Finn.
Oh, just side note, you brought up your son, but Saki, our mascot, has
our mascot is a sock puppet.
And also Finn's wife. It's both.
And also
Finn's wife. Yeah, that's an important...
The sock is not Finn's wife. Finn's wife puts the sock
But
on
Finn's
her.
wife is
Don't
the
judge
sock.
my life. All right, anyway. she's never played the original, so she went into this game watching me play with no expectations. And I just thought you would appreciate knowing that every scene you're in, she just kind of like melts into a puddle and loves how adorable, and she loves your character. You're her favorite thing to ever pop on screen. So I wanted to relay that information to you.
Thank you. That means so much to me.
So, as a streamer / influencer, how did you get your start in voice acting?
Before streaming was a part of my life, I was an actor, and I have done it all. It feels like I started in musical theater when I was in elementary school, and did that all through to high school, where I did straight theater. Then I went to NYU for theater, and I just wanted to work in LA. I just wanted to make a living doing what I loved. That's what I told myself every minute of every day. That's what I told my agents. That's what I told anyone who would listen, is that I want to make a living doing what I love, and what I love is acting. And I tried to get a voiceover agent. It didn't go well. And I tried to, think about what it would be like to get a demo, but it was very expensive, and I didn't know the right person to go to. So I started streaming as a way of being able to feel in control of my career. Because as an actor, you really rely on your agent and your manager and any other member of your team to book you work. And you can self-submit for the smaller stuff, but I had done that stuff my whole life. And I thought, I'm not going to work for free anymore. There's so many things out there with actors who will work for free. And I paid my dues. There's nothing wrong with working for free to pay your dues, but I had done that for years, and I was tired. So once I decided to stop taking unpaid work and super low budget stuff, I had a lot of free time on my hands, waiting for the bigger roles to come my way.
Waiting for that big break to fall through.
Yes. So I had a lot of free time. I started playing a lot of video games, and after about 6 months, this may surprise you, gets boring. So I decided to start streaming as a way to have a creative outlet and have a little bit of control over my career, be in front of a camera as many times a day as I wanted to be, as often as I wanted to be, with some control over what I was doing. And that turned out to be a really good decision. Cut to voice acting. I get an email. Can you audition for this? I said yes. I didn't have a voiceover agent, didn't have a voiceover demo, like I said, was not prepared for this in any way, no experience. But the casting director found me through my agent, completely not knowing that I played video games on YouTube and Twitch.
Oh, that's wild.
Totally unrelated. I like to think that this role fell out of the sky and hit me on the head.
It sounds like it did, actually. That's wild.
Yeah.
Like, and did you
For
know
real.
it was? Did you know it was for Aerith in Final Fantasy VII?
I think yes. And if I didn't know right away, I knew early on because of my background in games. Even I don't remember if there were code words or if details weren't given. I'm sure everything was very hush hush, but I knew.
Someone in chat said this opportunity crashed through a church roof.
Yes. Exactly.
That's fantastic.
It seriously did.
That's awesome. And I'm doing all the talking. Somebody else asked Brianna
You're
a
doing
question.
such a good job.
Well,
Yeah,
this
I know,
is a
but still,
question.
I don't want to bogart the mic.
So this is a question about the actual process of the recording. I know you said with the stipulation that it has to be common knowledge, so please stop me if this is not.
Sure.
But how much of the process was had to be kept to the script, or how much of it were you able to inject of your own? Were you able to ad lib it all, or add your own
interesting
flavor
question.
to any of the dialogue, or was it all preordained ahead of time?
So technically, this is the English voice acting is a localization. So it's all written in Japanese first.
Right.
So we don't get, as in me, the actor, I don't get freedom to ad lib.
Okay.
I have to stick to what's in the script. What the writer has ordained is exactly what they have decided to go with the script. Everything in this process is so precise and so detailed and tactical and purposeful, and that's why you get the end result that you get, because I didn't get to make any decisions. I would say that yes, I did my best to bring my artistic vision to it, and maybe it's a testament to all my years of acting that sort of happened subconsciously. I don't know, but to me, it felt like I was just lending my voice to the director and writer's creative process.
So I think, you know what, we can use that right there to lead into a question from the audience from Twitter at Frank Ken. Did you get to see clips or pictures from the game when recording your lines?
We kind of hit that earlier a little bit.
Yeah.
Did we
already answered
cover
that a little bit.
Yeah, it kind of depends on the scene. Kind of none of it probably
gotcha.
full. You know.
Okay. So I actually, go ahead.
So this is a question several people asked, and it was actually one I was planning on asking as well. So for the recording process for this role, I know it varies a lot based off of, what type of game you're doing and how they're capturing voice and stuff. Was it just like you in a recording booth alone, or were you recording with the other actors?
We recorded everything alone, and again, that speaks to how precise everything has to be. All the dialogue has to be so clean so that everything can be, again, perfectly crafted. So there's no rustling of papers or, another person breathing somewhere in the sound file. Like it's so precise that it just it doesn't usually leave room for multiple people to be in the room. On the other hand, a lot of the times we get that question because people say, it sounds like you're actually having a conversation. And I would say, yes, it does, and it should. And that is all part of the art. That is part of the sound design, the mixing, the actor and the director choosing the right takes. So all of that plays into every member of the team functioning at the highest level possible.
That's awesome. That's really impressive in its own right that, a bunch of people recording entirely separately can flow the way it does.
Yeah, I don't know if I could do that.
It really speaks to the craft of actual voice acting. I think a lot of people think that if they had access to good quality production equipment and they have a good voice, that they could be a voice actor, and it's so much harder than that because group reads are so rare. And it's not about just having a pleasant sounding voice and being able to read the line. It's acting. Like you said, you got this role through your acting career because of your agent. It had nothing to do with you being a Twitch personality or an influencer or anything like that. It really just does go to show how much of a skill, a practiced skill it is. It's not, something that people easily get into. So
that's exactly right.
Which makes it impressive because you kill it. You kill it as Aerith. You really do. So
thank you. There's a lot of moments in acting for TV and film when you, maybe if you're lucky, get to rehearse a scene with your scene partner. But sometimes when they're doing coverage, if it's a close-up, you don't have your scene partner on the other side of the camera. You just have to act like they're there. And so acting, just at its core, is living realistically under imaginary circumstances. And if you can't do that in your heart and in your brain, it's not going to come out through your voice. And so a lot of people have been asking me, what advice do you have for voice actors? I got to bring it back to that every single time.
So that brings me to my next question. What advice do you have for voice actors?
So I got to bring it back to this every single time. Voice acting is acting. Yeah. And then on the other side of the coin, if I can become a voice actor with nothing but acting, then you can do it too.
You hear that, Finn?
Assuming you have either acting credits or a history of theater.
Hey, you got to start somewhere, though.
Hey,
everybody starts somewhere.
Absolutely. I've got a question from at Heartamicia, Natalie, who's actually in chat. Do you like the idea of Cloud and Aerith or Cloud and Tifa?
Oh, that's really tough. And
I know you might be biased.
Well, yes, of course, I'm biased. It's so tough because I've heard, with my role being what it is, a lot of the arguments for and against all of the ships. I have not expected to be at the crux of this argument, but here we are. You have this whole thing about, Cloud and Tifa being childhood friends, and do their personalities mesh really well together? I think we can all agree yes. Then you come over to Cloud and Aerith, who, because of Aerith being who she is, there's this sort of star-crossed, bigger than me, otherworldly fate kind of situation going on. But then there's also the history if you bring in a certain other character into Aerith's backstory. And once you know about that, it kind of does alter the relationship between her and Cloud. And to some, it seems a little perverse, whereas to some, it seems a little bit like honoring that person. So there's so much there. And I think the only true answer is it's what you want.
So something interesting that she just said in chat was, and this is from Natalie, who asked the question. I think Aerith has an emotional vulnerability that makes Cloud a better person. I never really looked at it that way before. That's interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting because I see Tifa is very vulnerable as well. I do. Even though she has that very tough physicality, she is by far the more gentle heart. Well, but I can't even say that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know,
because Aerith has the playfulness, and she'll poke and prod and tease, and Tifa doesn't have that side of her, and so you can call it gentle or you could call it introverted. It's tough, but it is up for debate, and I think there is no definitive answer. I think it's made that way. I think it's written for the player to decide who they like better because it's an RPG in that way. It's built that way.
Something that I really love from the game is the way that Cloud and Aerith kind of bounce off of each other and kind of change their character traits and expand their character traits throughout the game. Cloud starts off as very stoic, very cold, and very distanced, and Aerith starts out as she's lived in a she came from a lab and she's lived under a metal sky her entire life, and she's very innocent. She's very very bubbly, and Cloud really helps bring out that strength in her and helps her kind of accept the things that are going to happen to her, and in turn she kind of helps Cloud soften that facade that he's got up a little bit. And that's something that I really love about the original game, is the way those two characters bring out the best of their character traits. And you see that evolve over the course of the game.
Of course, and that's got to happen. Otherwise, why would these characters be in this story? As far as how a narrative is crafted, you have to have that exist that way. And so I think one of the people who feel very strongly about Cloud and Aerith together, like you're saying, I think it's because Aerith is so dramatically intertwined with the story. And so if you ask yourself, is Aerith changing Cloud, or is Cloud changing by nature of going through this ordeal, going through the story, progressing through the story, because that's what a character should do. That's what should happen to a protagonist. It's up for debate.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and
you can play devil's advocate on this side and this side and this side and this side forever, and they have for 23 years.
It's up for debate. It is definitely up for debate for all.
And we lost him.
Oh no! So
I'm here.
Here's a question, pulling it away from the Aerith side and bringing it more to you as a person. We have a question from Adam Bankhurst. When you found out that you actually had secured your role as Aerith, who was the first person you called in contact and told about it?
Well, I didn't tell anyone while I was under NDA, of course.
Okay, well, after that.
Of course, right? It had happened tonight.
I think, of course, the first person I must have told was my brother.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And I'm very close with my brother. He's one of my best friends. And he plays video games, but he doesn't play these kind of video games. So he plays like CS:GO and the shooty games.
Yeah, right, yeah, shooty bang games. Yeah.
The shooty games. And so when I told him, I was like, "Hey, Adam, do you know of a little thing called Final Fantasy?" And he's like, "I've heard of it." And I'm like, "Then this isn't going to mean much to you." Guess what? He was very excited for me once I explained to him how iconic this character is. But yeah, he didn't really get it at first. My whole family was like that. Just recently, I got some news that Square Enix posted on social media that Final Fantasy VII Remake sold 3.5 million copies in the first 3 days.
And that's with supply, like physical supply, very constrained.
Correct. Yeah. So, and I would guess by the way they phrased it, it might include pre-orders. So whatever that means, 3.5 million number is a big number, right? So I was kind of told that my grandma, who doesn't know anything about video games, of course, she didn't really know what a big deal I was involved in until she was told, they sold 3.5 million copies in 3 days. And she was like, "Oh, wow." "Oh, okay. That is a big deal. I get it now."
Oh, man.
I'm just picturing you going like, "I got Aerith." And they go, "That's cool. What would you like for dinner?"
Yeah.
It's
the same thing I told my wife. And I was like, "Oh my God, Final Fantasy VII Remake comes out tonight." She's like, "That's great." He's like, "That's really fantastic." I
do think it's funny how people underestimate how big gaming is as a hobby and as a passion and as a media outlet for people, because I think people outside of gaming don't realize how big gaming is. They still see it as like a niche cult thing. And then I think a lot of people who do play a lot of video games still want to think of it, or still do think of it, as this niche cult thing, when 3.5 however many million copies in 3 days doesn't happen in a niche hobby. Like,
I
this
agree.
is something that hit a lot of people in their childhood, and they're now rushing to re-experience that.
And I think what's amazing as well is a lot of games are niche, but this one's not. And part of that is because of its transcendence over time brings it back to a point when it didn't exist like that. So anybody could play Final Fantasy VII. There was this middle period somewhere within this 23 years where it became an identity, but back then it wasn't as much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I came into Final Fantasy, well before 7, but 7 was really the game that drew people into JRPGs, period. Because nobody had, from a visual and scope and story standpoint, nobody had ever seen anything like it. And Final Fantasy VII is synonymous with the PlayStation era. You think of PlayStation, one of the games that comes to mind for most people is Final Fantasy VII.
It feels weird to think about it, but yeah, Final Fantasy VII was the game that made the genre cool.
It
was the game that brought in all the people that previously would ignore the entire genre.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, it got, I was in high school and it got people who weren't interested in RPGs into RPGs. Because visually it looked cool, and they're like, oh, I want something that looks really visually cool on my PlayStation. But then once they get drawn into the story, they're like, oh, maybe JRPGs are really cool. Maybe I should play more of those.
Come for the giant swords, stay for the heartfelt emotion.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Who asked the last question? Was that Derek?
I think it's
technically,
is it Justin?
One.
Go ahead.
No, Justin has one.
This one was asked by Lizzie Garcia, a friend of the show. And she was just wondering, what do you hope fans take away from the remake?
That's a good one.
I have thought a lot about the pros and cons, or it is what it is, of Final Fantasy VII Remake coming out during the worldwide coronavirus crisis.
Mm.
Of course, we just earlier touched on the fact that physical copies were delayed because of shipping, and then in response to that we got them out early to some countries who got them earlier, and then there were spoilers, and it felt like everything was on fire for a little bit.
It really did.
And now that everyone has, I hope everyone's gotten access to the game by now. It's been out for a little over a week.
Just about 2 weeks.
Almost 2 weeks. Officially launched for almost 2 weeks. What I'd like is for this game to bring that sense of adventure to people, because at its core, the story of Final Fantasy VII is an adventure game. You have a protagonist, you have an antagonist, and there are lots of different layers of that. There are some gray areas, and at the end of the day, you have to overcome your obstacles. And you have to always have faith and hope that everything's going to work out for the better if you just keep pushing forward. And that is a message that comes through again and again and again in the game, over so many obstacles, over so many emotional moments between so many different characters. Aerith's core is hope, but look at Barrett. Barrett has passion for years.
He's mad.
He's
mad.
Passion incarnate. And part of that is his love. That passion is for his love for the planet and his love for giving Marlene a future. So he keeps pushing forward no matter what. Even though, things don't go as planned, we're going to keep pushing forward. There ain't no stopping this train we're on, right?
Yeah, hell yeah.
Exactly. So I would say that what I love for people to take away from the game is an inner strength that allows them to push forward when things are hard.
That's perfect.
This
game was. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
There was so much in this game that, I realized was so, important to this part in time, even for a story rooted in 20 years ago. Just there's so many things that are still relevant to the world, if not even more relevant, both in characterization, thematically, politically, and it really, really touched me. The game could be so poignant even taking it over 20 years into the future. There was some stuff that really, really struck with me that didn't, when I played the original, maybe it went over my head because I was pretty young when I played it originally. It was the first game I ever finished beginning to end by myself.
Wow.
So it's a very special game to me. But there was so many things that I realized that I realized with my worldview and like how I write and what I think about things can be traced back to Final Fantasy VII. So it was really cool to see through that lens, and it meant a whole lot to me. I think everything you said sums it up really well. But there was so much about this game that really, really hit, and I think it's really important at this point in time.
Yeah, this is exactly what I needed right now. I haven't been to work in a month, and I've just been sitting here, and so yeah, this. I mean, like obviously, I want the world to get back to normal, but this game came along pretty much exactly when I needed it. I think that's true for probably just about everybody that played it and loved it, to be honest with you. Another question from at Blackstones. What are your thoughts on expanding the Tifa Aerith relationship? Because in the original game, they were friendly with each other, but in the remake, they're really chummy. Like they are super close and they're high-fiving each other. And so with your knowledge of the relationship in the first game, looking at how that has been expanded, like what is your opinion on that?
My opinion is, why wasn't it like that in the original game?
I think honestly, I think there's that rivalry there, like kind of like a rivalry for Cloud's affections.
Sure. And that's a very 90s character.
It really is, yeah.
Trope. It's fine. Really, I get it. Everything exists in the period that it was made in and consumed in. I get it.
Yeah.
But we have evolved, I would hope, over the past 23 years. And we know that not just guys play video games. And the thing about a video game is you become the protagonist. You are Cloud. You're the player. So having, all the characters just fawn over this guy and then hate each other doesn't really fit anymore.
Yep.
Because now women who play the game also then don't just identify with Cloud, they also then identify with Aerith and Tifa. And so those characters can't be just there to please Cloud. They have to be there as their own full versions of people and characters. And realistically, Aerith would not be petty. And Tifa wouldn't either. They are fighting a major battle here. Like Cloud's affections are not going to be what they're petty over.
Oh no, Shinra's attacking, but what if he doesn't like him?
Yeah, right. Like, and I feel
anymore.
I feel like without getting into spoilers, there are a lot of things from the original game. While it's still a timeless game, but there are a lot of things that are products of that era. That not just the relationship between Tifa and Aerith, but also other things that are coming in later chapters that I think were handled with a more modern stance in mind as we have evolved as a society, thankfully. And because a lot of those elements from the original game would not have played out well today.
Yes.
And I think you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
And I for one am very, very thankful at the changes that Square Enix has made to be more inclusive. I think that's a wonderful thing. Finn.
So I've just been making sure we keep on track of time for our guests. So I wanted to, as we wind down, we have a bevy of more, how you would call them, lighthearted questions for you that I know our fans would love to hear from you. The first one is popcorn a dessert? And that is from Yosemite Blam. Do you consider popcorn a dessert?
The eternal battle on this podcast.
This has been a raging battle on our Discord.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Okay, 'cause my Discord gets into a lot of unpopular food too, so
nobody give her any hints.
Okay, so here's my take. For Christmas this year, my dad gave me like cinnamon roll flavored popcorn.
Ooh.
And I would
Interesting.
say that's a dessert because it is packed with sugar. And just because it is a grain doesn't mean if you pack it with sugar, it's not a dessert. But if you just take a pack of popcorn and microwave it, it's not dessert.
It's not dessert.
I mean,
it's not
there we
dessert.
go.
I feel like a dessert is just a snack with a specific appointment.
Yeah,
but
Aerith said that popcorn is not dessert. That is canon now.
No, she said specific.
Can be.
It's like all squares are rectangles, but not all rectangles are squares. Some dessert, some
It's the law.
popcorn is
I'm
dessert.
sorry, it's the law.
Oh,
It's-
boy.
However, springboarding off that question, I have to ask because our traditional SDGC interview question is also dessert related.
Oh,
and I would be
not this
remiss
question.
if I did not ask this. In your heart of hearts, if you have to choose cake or pie?
Oh, cake.
Okay,
I
well,
guess it's
that's a
official.
good answer. That's a good answer to that. Cake is.
That was the fastest anybody has answered
No,
that
it
question,
is.
by the way.
It's, you know
Usually,
what?
like, people, like, mull it over and, like, get really nervous about it. That was the fastest.
Or at least they just got confused as to why the fuck they were asked about cake and
Yeah,
pie
yeah.
in the middle of the PAX show floor. Like,
Just get rid of pie.
I agree.
Whoa,
Pie is
oh, no, we were having such a nice time.
Pie is bad. Cake, especially cake with a little ice cream in the middle, like some Neapolitan ice cream, and like a nice vanilla frosting, and like some of those
Like a
big
cookie crumble
frosted
layer.
flowers. Some of the big frosted flowers, you can cut them. Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Cake is the best, dude.
Yeah,
What
we're just
other-
gonna lose pie there.
Yeah.
Here's what
pie-
gets me about the pie. It's the crust. I can't do the pie crust. It's always too dry for me.
The only exception, I think, is if you've ever had a really nice gingerbread crust on a pie, that's not bad.
Yeah.
That's not
Finn
bad.
will always
I find
bring up
there's this
pizza
one-
on the pie side, and I do gotta give him
there's
that.
always
But
one thing. Because for pie, it's the crust is usually its downfall. But for me, cake, it's the icing. A bad icing will ruin a cake.
That's
Too sweet.
true, but every pie has crust. And cake has lots of different frostings.
You know what? I'll give it to you.
we got another silly question from Dio. We'll try to squeeze one or two more in here. At Dio MF, who's actually one of our chat mods, how did it feel to say shit as Aerith?
I thought you were going to give a spoiler warning.
It happens right at the beginning.
Okay, so when I found out that was in the script, my immediate thought, I went full 5-year-old and I was like, ooh. And then I just got so excited because everyone's favorite innocent little flower girl is gonna cuss. And then I was really excited for it.
Innocence doesn't have to mean PG. Purity of soul does not have to mean, that you are forbidden from a little fun.
I agree with you. I do. I think curse words are on board for good people. It's fine. But not everyone agrees.
Crossing a little taboo there.
We've got so one more question. We'll ask one last one. It's from at Astraw, Aiden Strawhun, who is a good friend of the podcast, freelance journalist at IGN and other places. Ask Briana if she will say the F word as Aerith. Now, you don't have to do this. You don't have to do this.
I can't do it as Aerith. We're gonna be a little mad at me.
That's what I figured. I didn't figure you'd be actually.
Can you tell John in your own voice to fuck off?
Yeah, you can go fuck off.
Wow.
Yeah, you know what? That made my night.
There we go.
I think that's a
Aiden,
perfect
they will be
way
very
to,
happy now.
say
Wow. That's thanks for that. Appreciate that. Anyway, I think that is the perfect way
What
to.
a good send-off, right?
Yeah, that's a perfect way to send it off. Thank you so much. I know somebody in chat is gonna clip that, throw it all over Twitter, right? I know already.
I mean, that's usually our sign off, so that's a pretty good one.
Great.
Pretty much.
Awesome.
Briana, thank you so much for joining us. I know you've got a super busy schedule, and just the fact that you took 45 minutes out to talk to a small podcast like us really, really means a lot. We won't forget it.
I can tell you guys are a group of good guys, so
We try. And we really appreciate your time, and thank you so much. Good luck for anything you do in the future. I think you've got a bright future in the voice acting gig here in the industry.
Here's hoping.
Yeah,
you're right. That's how I feel.
Well, I don't think there's anything to hope for. I think it's going to happen, and I am very much looking forward to seeing where the winds blow you next.
She rolls up to the next interview and be like, "I'm sorry, do you not know who I am?"
Let them know that you were on SDGC.
You were in Final Fantasy VII.
Everybody knows us.
All right,
yeah.
Name drop you guys. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
My
This meant the
pleasure.
world to us.
Thanks for having me, and enjoy the rest of your stream. And thank you to everyone who's been watching
Thank you so
and
much,
listening. Take care.
Bye bye.
And
That
now
was
you're stuck
awesome.
with us.
Yeah.
Now it's just us. It's all downhill. It's all downhill.
Wait,
from
where's
here,
everyone
baby.
going?
Like,
Come back.
now I can yeah, that was fucking cool. Everybody in chat, did you fucking enjoy that? That was great.
Yeah.
That was
Thank
fucking
you
good
so
stuff.
much for
Fantastic.
joining us for that. That was
This is super cool. Of course, Natalie's gonna leave now. Now that
Yeah.
it's like it's time to get out of here.
Okay, so I know we had Aerith on, but I know you also really want to know what we've been playing this week.
This was a bad idea because now nobody gives a shit.
So real talk. Before
wait.
we even do this, real quick, can I say because it's been hard to contact and really stay in deep touch with Briana because she's been very, very busy. We didn't really work out the time constraint in advance.
Yeah, So
we
sorry
had an
about
hour
that.
and a half worth of her ready, and we have no topics.
So let me tell you this. We got a review code for Trials of Mana. We got it late, but we got it the day of embargo, but we got it. So I've been playing Trials of Mana on PS4 for I don't know. I played it until late in the night last night. I've been playing it all day today, trying to grind that review out. And I'll tell you right now, it is some of the absolute worst voice acting. While we're on the topic of voice acting, like I know Justin and Finn and Derek have all seen the stuff that I've been recording and throwing in the DM. Like I cannot begin to describe to you how bad yes.
John, do you mean you have problems with the voice acting?
Oh my God!
You know what? Actually,
You don't mean to tell me
John
there was
has
a specific
inspired
character
me.
that gives you problems, is there?
No.
Dude,
Derek, John has inspired me. When I get the game on Friday, and after I'm done with my current game of High Cross S4, the greatest game of this or any generation, I am going to play Trials of Mana, turn voice acting off, and read all of that character's lines, but in a really deep, like uber manly voice. I'm very excited.
Are you still going to replace all the R's and L's with W's like Charlotte
Of course
does?
I am. Of course I am.
I mean,
That
that's what
sounds like a good idea,
Sorry.
Finn.
I'm wee sorry.
Perhaps what you should do is grab the rest of the script. Well, then you gonna sound like Elma Fudd.
Derek, do the Solid Snake voice, but replace the R's and L's with W's.
Oh no. I'm trying to sneak into the compound. But my ass is dummy thick. And the clapping of my ass keeps alerting the guards. I can't even. I'm laughing too much.
we made it 3 minutes without the guest before going off the rails.
Do you guys have any idea how hard,
Oh my God,
how fucking nervous I was during that shit?
I was holding the bullshit
Blaine
in.
Chat fucking nailed it. He said Derek doing that voice sounds like Homestar Runner.
Oh no. Well, this is a little more like Homestar Runner. You gotta have a little bit more like this, guys.
No, but really, like,
I'm really
I
happy to be on your podcast, friends.
I started the fucking game and I got to the point where so I picked Charlotte because she's the only dedicated healer in the whole game, and I got to the part where like her ooh speak is bad enough in the Super Nintendo version, right?
Yeah,
I played like
yeah.
75 hours of that game. She opened her mouth and talked, and I immediately turned the fucking game off, restarted it, and picked a different character.
Yeah.
Like I was like, "There's no fucking way I am doing 20+ hours of that."
So-
There's no fucking way.
How far did you get into the game again? Before you had to deal with that?
Stop, Derek! Stop it!
Please.
Aside from that, so far, look, like the voice acting is really bad. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Like the voice acting is some of the worst I've ever heard in the entire video game industry. Having said that, the game itself is really good so far. The combat's really good. It's a decent looking game. There's some weird texture pop in happening, and some of them look a little more. It's a budget game. It's $49.99, and it definitely shows in places.
That's not budget, y'all. That's not budget.
Well, I mean, it's not a full price game.
Yeah, but $10 off ain't budget.
Hey, man, dude,
not to me.
Hey, dude, $49.99 in this economy.
Yeah.
But you know, like it's good. I can tell you right now, about maybe 12 hours in, I still prefer the Super Nintendo version because you know you can't beat that. I mean, it's some of the best pixel art ever in Trials of Mana. And I feel like a lot of that charm is lost in the remake because it just looks like a less visually pleasing Dragon Quest game.
You remember how I made you play the remake of the first Neptunia game? I bring this up.
I tried to forget it
because Trials of Mana doesn't look really much better than that. Like, there's really a point where 3D anime replicating graphics are just, you know, it looks budget. You know, unless you put real, like, Bamco money into it. And Square Enix ain't gonna put Bamco money into an anime-looking game.
Yeah, I think it would have worked better if they pulled off more of a Tales aesthetic and gone, like, a cel-shading animated-looking route. Instead of the weird
shading,
three. I don't know. I'm just saying.
I don't think so. So
I think aesthetically it still looks good. It's just the art style that they used to convey that aesthetic didn't.
Well, like Dragon Quest nails it though. Like
it does. So I'll say this: like you know what my pervading thought today while I was playing the game is I think Mana, like I would love one. I personally I don't think Trials of Mana needed a remake. I would have rather just had a new Mana game.
Aren't we getting one anyway?
There's been no indication of that. I think the Mana series works best in 2D. I really, really do. Like Legend of Mana, if anybody has ever played Legend of Mana on PS1, that's still to this day one of the most beautiful games ever.
Which is the one that never came to the US?
It was Seiken Densetsu 3. It was Trials of Mana.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's what Trials of Mana is.
Yeah, we're getting it. We got it last year for the first time. And localized Bahamut Lagoon Square. And but honestly, like I would love for a Mana Renaissance. I think this is a series that works best in 2D. I really, really do. You know, I mean, the combat is good. It's far more action oriented than anything that has come before in the Mana series. I mean, it's an action RPG now. Like, I mean, let's just call it what it is. And there are definitely quality of life improvements. Like in the original Super Nintendo game, you could only hold 9 of each item, and in this, like, you know, that limitation has gone away. But man, that voice acting just really pulls you out of it sometimes.
That's
like
such
it
a
just
shame.
it really and so there's one more thing. Some of the
We're
women
talking about the character designs. Yes, thank you.
So hypersexualized that like Angela, right? Like Angela is your dedicated.
Is that the girl that comes from the Arctic locale?
Right, and she's running around in a one-piece bikini with extremely low cleavage, and everything is jiggling. And I'm like, she's in the Arctic. Why is she wearing that? And so it's one thing to see like old character art from 1996. It's another thing to see this. Like I just like.
Me and you were talking about this.
You know what it is, John?
Go ahead.
Because we discussed this briefly in chat. It's the weird cognitive dissonance that both of these are remakes from Square Enix, but then you look at the care that Final Fantasy VII got, and then you look at Trials of Mana, and Final Fantasy VII changed its problematic aspects. It evolved. It grew as a game. And Trials of Mana was just like a 1-to-1, and in some ways lessened itself because of that. And it's just weird, like even down to the voice acting. Like there's just such a gulf quality between the two, and it's weird that they're from the same company. They're from they're both storied RPG franchises, but one is the redheaded stepchild, and one is the favorite firstborn. It's weird because they are both Square Enix games that released within a month of each other. They're both remakes, and they're both wildly divergent in quality.
Well, I think these changes are like the things that I don't like about Trials of Mana are made even greater by the fact that I just got done playing Final Fantasy VII Remake, which has superlative voice acting, an incredible combat system.
I need to break down and get FF7 Remake, don't I?
You really do. I don't know.
Yeah,
how
I've been holding out for the PC version because we know it's coming, and I'm just gonna buy it again on PC when it hits.
2021. Do you really want to wait that long?
I'm trying to, but my will is already really weak.
Don't do it.
Derek, it's been 2 weeks. Like, you have 50 more.
It is literally, it is now my second favorite Final Fantasy game because nothing's ever going to surpass 6 for me for personal reasons. But it is my second favorite Final Fantasy game. It is, dude. It's incredible. I the only reason I stopped my second playthrough is to play Trials of Mana so I can review it. But man, oh man, it is such a special fucking game, dude. Like, I Square Enix by the law of averages should not have nailed it the way they did. Like, I mean, they really shouldn't have, but they totally did. And honestly, playing Trials of Mana, we're really lucky that they did nail it.
Yeah,
the way that they did.
Well,
because
after FF15, I was surprised that FF7 Remake was as good as it was, which is not attacking FF15. I'm not attacking FF15. I like FF15, but I have frequently likened the combat system to your controller dissociating from the game, because button inputs do not fucking line up with attacks. Like, it is not like an action game. Versus just from the demo alone that we played at PAX. It was so clear how much tighter and more like direct input to outcome FF7 Remake's combat system is. Like, it plays like a
had that weird just like hold to attack, right?
Sort of, maybe. Like, you could mash, you could hold. It doesn't matter. The game doesn't give a shit. Whatever, man. But like, I mean this as the biggest possible endorsement I can make. FF7 Remake has that, like, really good licensed PlayStation 2 game combat going down. Before you count in the ATB system. You know what I mean? Like, you remember those Lord of the Rings games that came out on PlayStation 2? Like,
oh, God, I remember those. The turn-based
they
game?
were... No, the action, the co-op action.
Not the
based
turn-based
on the actual...
I know what you... Okay, right. No,
so that's what I mean.
Based on the movie.
It's decent combat even outside of the ATB system. Like, it's very snappy, and there's good feedback, and it feels good, and I want to play it, and I've got to be real with you all of the fucking hilarious and flirty screen caps and GIFs and videos I keep seeing are breaking me down even further, because I know
Derek, I need to see your live reactions to Chapter 9 and Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Yes, I do. Derek,
I don't think I can stream FF7 Remake. I think that would be...
No, you can. You can.
You know what?
You just can't stream the last chapter.
How long is the game? How long is the game?
30-ish hours if you just play without
42.
New Game Plus.
So I did all the side quests, and my first playthrough took me 43 hours.
I tell you what, I'm going to commit here, okay? When I'm done with Control, which is my current Friday stream game, which you can catch me on Twitch at Derek of the Dykes, it gets mirrored here on SDGC. I've got it set that you all rebroadcast me. And you can't stop me from doing that because I'm the only one who knows how to fuck around with Twitch settings.
I'm kidding.
But I will do FF7 Remake after Control. Fuck, I need to do it.
Those are two good games. Those are two good games.
I actually thought of Derek during Chapter 9, that pivotal scene.
Is this the Honeybee Inn scene? Is this the Honeybee Inn chapter?
Yes, but no, Derek.
Yes.
There's a particular gameplay mechanic
and character that is very much up your alley.
Yes.
It's Derek bait. The whole
No, it
chapter.
absolutely 100%. Now that Justin has said that, I need, and everybody in chat needs to pressure Derek.
Am I allowed?
On Twitter.com.
Will it push me to turn the big gay horny energy up to 5%?
Yep.
Oh God, yes.
Oh yeah.
No, dude.
That's hard. I'm never horny on main. I don't do it.
Dude, that shit is going to 100%, Derek.
No. Let's be real.
I can't let loose 100%. That's not allowed.
Derek, it's going to 7%.
Ooh.
Oh.
I see. Don't encourage this shit, guys.
Whoa.
Jesus. What are you doing? Why are you doing this to me?
FF7
Fucking
remake.
Has anybody played kind of moving away from Final Fantasy? Has anybody Peachy Brittany says I want an emote of that face. I almost said emote. I want an emote of that
That's
face.
enough footage right there that I just did for somebody to cap it.
Somebody's gonna cap that shit and throw it in the Discord. Has anybody played the new Super Mario Maker 2 patch where you could play you can make your own worlds and stuff. You can make your own world maps, and I really want to play that, but I've got to finish Trials of Mana first. It sounds like I'm dumping on Trials of Mana. I'm really not. It's a good game. It's just weird playing it after something as polished and well put together as Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Exactly. I mean, that's the thing.
I mean, the clips you've shown of like the voice acting have been rough, you know, and I'm sure the combat system's good, but like it looks a little rough. It does not feel. It feels like it should be like a $39.99 kind of title. Like I sent some of those clips to Dio, and Dio in chat, if you can confirm, it's as bad as I've been saying it is. You know what it is. Here's what I'll say. Trials of Mana, the remake, seems to have the energy of like a handheld game that got remastered for a home console. You know, like
a PSP game
or a Vita game that got something like Final Fantasy Type 0, or like it's got that kind of very handheld but remastered energy to it.
You know, I'm really surprised that hasn't come to Switch, to be perfectly honest with you. Type 0, it would look so much better on a handheld screen than it did on my PS4. So I originally bought that game for the 15 demo a few years ago. You remember that?
So did we all.
Yeah, that's why everybody bought the fucking game. And I remember thinking to myself, man, this is one ugly ass fucking game because it started off as a Vita game.
It was the modern day Zone of the Enders for Metal Gear Solid 2 or Crackdown for Halo 3.
Yes. So somebody in chat asked, I should grab Collection of Mana sometime and play the original with a new look. Yes, you absolutely should. Trials of Mana for Super Nintendo is an absolute fucking classic.
Concurred.
And I put 75 hours into that game. There's 3 different final bosses. Depending on who you pick, there's 3 different endings. And it's got some of the most gorgeous pixel art of that era. It's probably the best looking Super Nintendo game.
Better than Bahamut Lagoon? Better than Bahamut Lagoon. Bahamut Lagoon.
No, it's better. It's like...
Did I tell you about when I tried to play Bahamut Lagoon on an emulator?
No, you didn't.
Okay, so this was back in it was either junior high or beginning of high school. It was like right around midterms. I had my midterms like the first day, and then everything else was a bunch of essays. So I just basically had like a week off from classes. So I was just downloading a bunch of Super NES games on ROMs, and that's how I played like Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasy VI and stuff for the first time. But I grabbed Bahamut's Lagoon, and that game, I had downloaded it with a fan translation that just made everybody swear like crazy.
It was a very edgy, I know the one.
The weirdest thing. Like, it felt so out of place and like try hard edgy.
That is not the way you want to play that game.
Yeah, no, I stopped playing it.
Bahamut Lagoon.
Has there ever been a different fan translation? Because the only way I've ever played it is with that super edgy, yeah.
I played it about 6 months ago for the first time on my Vita because I hacked my Vita, and it fucking.
I'm gonna lay down the law here. There are a lot of games that it's impossible to officially support the developers, and frankly, if you give a shit about emulation of those games, you're a cop.
Yep.
Maybe, or maybe maybe we should just get more serious about games preservation.
That would be good, because if I had the ability to buy the Fire Emblem Radiant collection on the Switch, I wouldn't have to emulate them. I could give Nintendo money.
I would love to give Nintendo money for a properly localized. Derek, what are you doing?
That was Nintendo.
That was intense. That was real intense. No,
I've had a lot of wine tonight, y'all.
I would love. No, drunk Derek on Thursday nights is good.
Yeah.
I would love to give Nintendo money for an honest to goodness localization of Mother 3, for example. I would love to do this. I would love to give. You know what? I would love to give a Nintendo money for fucking Chrono Trigger on Switch.
I'd love to give Square Enix money.
I'd go as far as to say I would pay a decent amount of money for even just a subscription service that had a proper collection of retro games.
You mean like
instead of
perhaps
just
like a virtual console?
or just whatever they have now, just actually with games instead of like, here's some. What was the last time they updated it?
It was like some boat race game. Yeah, some boat race game that I've never heard of.
Bro, hold up. Boat Race 93? Do not shit talk Boat Race 93.
So Eliminator Boat Duel. That's what it's called. Eliminator Boat Duel.
That sounds way more hardcore than it probably
is. Consider this.
I
think so. So we got Super Nintendo games last September. There have been.
Was that the last time?
We have Super Nintendo games?
No. So Super Nintendo games came to Switch last September.
Oh, okay.
Right. That's when Super Nintendo Online. Yeah. So yeah, last September. It is now. We're getting near the end of April. It's almost May. We have had, I believe, 3 new Super Nintendo games in that time.
It's insane.
I don't understand it. I don't get it.
It's wild to me.
The only game Nintendo seems very passionate about preserving is fucking Urban Champion.
Champion.
That game, you could get it on the Game Boy Advance slide card e-reader thing.
Yep.
Like, every single time there's NES game, Urban Champion right there.
Always. And what's crazy is that it's not even like Nintendo has burned through their entire staple of classics and now they're just like divvying out the rest. We haven't even got so many staples. The pace of this SNES drip feed has made the Wii Virtual Console look like a deluge. It's been remarkable to see them falter. It's the Super Nintendo, guys. You've re-released these games almost as many times.
They're not worth anything. A lot of people are playing them for free anyway. Yeah.
And there's a lot of good emulators for it too.
Yeah. Why don't you just make some fucking money off it, Nintendo? I mean, I don't get it. Like, Derek, go ahead. You got your hand up, bud.
Yeah. Fuck. I forgot what I was going to ask.
Did I fucking lose it, Derek?
We went on a different tangent, and I forgot what I was going to...
Derek, how much wine have you had tonight? How much wine have you had?
A good amount.
I think you started raising your hand when I mentioned Urban Champion.
No. I forgot to ask Derek. Tell me about the notes.
I mean, it's red wine.
Tell me about that wine.
It's red wine notes. It's kind of sweet. It's kind of dry.
Does it have a peppery taste?
It's good in the middle. It's fruity.
Man.
It's sweet. It's got a little bit of cherry in there, I guess. I mean,
ooh, nice.
It tastes like great.
Sounds like it would pair well with like some dark chocolate.
It does. It definitely does. I can tell you from experience.
Speaking of tangents, hey Finn, how's Divinity Original Sin 2 going?
Yeah.
Oh, guys, I can't believe you asked. That's so sweet of you.
Yeah, that was really. Yeah, that was the next question on my mind.
Recently, I've been playing 4-player co-op Divinity to reconnect with my friends back home during this time of not actually being able to fly back home, and it has been a delight. I've never actually played all the way through Divinity, and now we're on the third island. We're like 50-60 hours in, and boy, it's just a time sink. We'll just start at like 5 and I'll look up and it's 3 a.m. It's absurd. It's crazy. Anyway, that's I just really wanted to plug Divinity Original Sin 2 because 2 years later, it's still such a damn good game.
I made fun of straight couples who get in arguments in quarantine because of the Backstreet Boys reunion tour, as the Game Grumps have been putting it.
Yes.
And I made fun of straight couples getting in arguments and getting in fights and this whole like, haha, you all don't actually like each other. But then Martha and I, who I'm allowed to say straight because we're both queer, we're both pan, started playing Divinity Original Sin 2 together. And we fought pretty hard over playing that game with each other. So I need to shut my fucking face.
I'll tell you what, it does strain some friendships.
It does.
We'll be like in the middle of a tough fight, and my friend Chris from the Nolan Nerdcast will use one of his warrior abilities on someone with armor left on, so it nullifies its status effect. I'm like, what are you doing?
He's not gonna catch fire yet. He's still got magic armor.
Knocked down. Yeah.
You can't poison him yet. What are you doing?
So I actually just picked up last night a game that Zach mentioned a couple of weeks ago, Hunt Showdown.
Oh.
It's a really, really neat game. Him and Samuel Tolbert have been trying to convince me to get it for a little while. Because it's going to get crossplay soon. It doesn't quite have it yet, but the game was on sale, so I bought it now. Because I assume that once I grab it, it won't. Once the crossplay patch comes out in the next couple weeks, it probably won't be on sale. So I grabbed it. That game is cool. Like it's got full binaural audio, like Hellblade. So like you'll be walking through this like really gross, macabre, like Louisiana bayou. And, like, you'll hear the breathing of zombies around, or, like, you'll scare ducks, and then they'll fly off and, like, scream, and the crows go crazy, and, like, that'll alert other players to where you are.
So, hold on.
There's,
this is a zombie game, you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a whole lot of, like, supernatural stuff. Like, you play as a character that is a hunter that, like, is trying to kill a specific bounty, which is, like, a powerful creature that's in the area. You search for clues to find the... you have to find 3 separate clues, and then that'll tell you exactly where the target is. Once you find the target, big boss fight, and then you try to take a bounty coin from it, and then extract. But other players are competing for the same bounty. So there's enemies all over the place, as well as other players. So, like, the meat hooks hanging from the ceiling will, like, give away people's positions and stuff.
Oh, that's kind of cool. That's cool.
It's really, really cool.
Is it free to play?
No.
No.
It was on sale for $28.99 when I played it. I think it's usually, like, $40. It's from Crytek. So it looks quite good.
I was going to say, yeah, if it's from Crytek, at least visually, it's going to be impressive. So.
Yeah, it's cool. I've only played a little bit online. But it is really neat. Like, there's a permadeath mechanic for your hunters and stuff like that.
Better than Predator, then.
Oh, yes. But, like, it's definitely neat. Like, it seems kind of similar to, like, Escape from Tarkov, but it's not, like, a milsim kind of game like Tarkov is.
It's not made by a bunch of... never mind.
Yeah. Yeah, fair. But yeah, like the art design is like super gnarly creatures that you see. Like one is like this like lady that has like her head is on her back. Like the head's still the weak point, but like she's like bent and like her ribs are coming out of the top half, and like her head's on the back, and then she has like these nasty bugs that fly around, and she screams and sends them at you.
Is it scary? Like is it a horror game?
I mean, it's tense. Like it is at its core an action game, but like you have limited supplies that you have to search for. Like you have to, ration when you use your supplies, so you have enough to take out the boss or other players if you run into them.
Interesting. I saw you talking about this on Twitter, and I was thinking maybe I should download it and give it a shot.
It's interesting. The controls aren't great. Like there's a lack of polish in some things, but it's a neat game. So it's cool.
Is it a full release? Or is it like a beta or like?
No, it is a full release.
Okay.
But I don't think there's too many maps or anything yet. They're slowly updating it. Yeah, Finn.
Okay. Well, I got a question. I mean, now that Final Fantasy's out and smaller stuff like Trials is out, and we're now in this weird no man's land of video game releases, what are some smaller titles y'all are looking forward to? Because I think for me, the next big game I'm really looking to snag is Maneater.
Crosscode on Switch. Crosscode on Switch.
Yeah, what's that date?
So I actually reached out to Radical Fish Games, and it's apparently sometime within the next couple months.
That'd be awesome. That's a definite.
Yeah, no, that's a day one when it hits Switch for me. So yeah, and in chat, if you don't know what Crosscode is, go to YouTube right now and look up videos of Crosscode. It looks fucking awesome. Maneater is another one that I'm definitely going to pick up and play and probably stream.
Just shark RPG. That's all
absolutely.
I need to know.
I can't.
Janky shark RPG, but like in the best way.
I'm actually thinking about, and anybody, like, if people in chat if this is something you'd be interested in, after I'm done playing Trials of Mana for review, I'm going to be out of work until like at least mid-June with everything that's going on. So I was thinking about maybe starting like a morning stream on the Twitch channel here and just playing really bad Steam games for an hour or two, letting people come in early in the morning and laugh. So if that's something that anybody would be interested in, or if you just want to see more streaming from us in general, just let us know. I've got a lot of time on my hands and I want to start doing more with the channel. So if anybody would tune in for that, hey, let me know. And maybe I can make that happen. As far as other games coming out that I'm looking forward to, Xenoblade Chronicles Remastered is definitely on my radar in May 29th. And as far as release dates go, Finn, I think that one is safe.
The closer we get to it and you haven't heard anything from Nintendo, I'm inclined to believe that you are correct. I think that is one that is not going to move.
Yeah, I don't think so. Anything else after that, though, is completely up for grabs.
So,
weird, right?
I'm looking forward to the remaster of Wonderful 101.
Yeah.
I have not played the original. I've wanted to for a long time.
It's good.
It seems kind of like the most like a successor to like Beautiful Joe that Mikami has done.
Like gameplay wise, no.
Stylistically, I guess.
Yeah, stylistically, yes. Gameplay wise, not at all.
Also, I've just heard that, as a fan of stuff that I am a fan of, I should play Wonderful 101.
It's good. I don't think that it's something that I need to play again.
Well, I haven't played it. So
No, I know. No, I'm saying like if you've never played it before, by all means, go all in. It's just like it was a good game, but it was one of those games that like for me is a one and done. Like I don't see myself really needing to play that again.
I'm just trying to I'm waiting till I hear about like what the versions are like, because I can't decide whether to grab it on Switch or PS4. I don't know how the controls are going to be reworked and stuff.
I feel like a purist. I backed it on Kickstarter and it had to be Switch.
Oh, somebody just reminded me in chat. The remaster of Ys Memories is coming to PS4, and I'm really, really annoyed that it's not coming to Switch. I'm really annoyed.
No, come on. It's the same playbook that Bandai and Square do with their games. They're going to release it.
They just want people to double dip.
And then 6 months later, they'll release the version with DLC on the Switch and snag all the double dippers.
Why do you think that they haven't announced the FF7 remake for PC, even though gameplay footage captured from PC version was in one of the trailers?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Ooh, Streets of Rage 4. That's another one I'm looking forward to. That game looks fucking... Yeah. I love me some Streets of Rage.
Are you ready for a contrarian here? I'm going to be the only person who is looking forward to this. I know.
I don't believe it.
I'm the only person in games, media, podcast, whatever, that's looking forward to this. Marvel's Avengers. When it comes out.
No, I'm with you. I've already got mine pre-ordered. I'm that guy.
I mean, I don't think it's coming out in September also.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know that it is. I think the likelihood of delays is like solid, but... You know what? I think the game is going to be good, and I think that the game is... No, I think the game is going to be good, and it's going to be better than people are ever willing to admit, because people are going to get... I'm going to get on my soapbox here for a minute.
Oh, God, here we go.
People are going to get invested in the mimetic cultural takedown of this game.
It's the Mass Effect Andromeda syndrome.
Yes, or Marvel's Capcom Infinite. Same thing. Never mind that Marvel's Capcom Infinite is the best fighting game to be made in this entire console generation. It got fucking destroyed because people needed to post
I'm
memes.
Sorry, did you just stutter and mispronounce Dragon Ball FighterZ?
I did not. Infinite is so much better than Fighters. But people need to post a bunch of pictures of Chun-Li's face, and therefore that lasted all the way to the game's release. Didn't matter what they did. People already decided they hate Avengers, so they're not gonna allow themselves to like it.
I am in the boat where I really want Avengers to be good. I just haven't seen anything that fills me with confidence because I think the game looks worse every single time.
They are not marketing it well.
And I don't care what quality it is. I'm gonna be Miss Marvel.
It's bad that I should have to go off of like Tom Johnson and other media buddies of ours who played it to tell us that the game is good. Like, they have done such a shit job of actually showing us that this game is good. But people who've played it say it's really good. So
let's also like the character designs not good.
I'm okay with them.
They've improved on them.
Captain America's design is
Cap's
awful.
bad.
Cap is just bad.
Cap is bad, but I'm not going down the Marvel vs. Capcom route. I'm not going to go. No, I'm not going to do this whole Dante looks like a crackhead, so the whole game's a piece of shit.
No, hold on, Derek. Hold on. Cap in the Square Enix Avengers game.
It's not great, but
he looks like budget Army Hammer in riot gear.
It's not great, but
that's
whatever.
That's
like,
what he looks like.
We got bigger shit to worry about than that.
Thor looks like Thunder Jesus.
Thor looks like Thor.
He looks like Thunder Jesus.
Read a comic. He looks like Thunder
Thor,
Jesus.
I thought looked very good.
Finn's doing exercise.
Finn, hit me, man.
No, I just wanted to circle back to Streets of Rage. I think John might be happy. I put us in the running for 2 review codes for the game so that we can do co-op and cover the game. And I will let you know as news pops up as to the progress of that. But our talks and discussions with them at PAX are looking like they've borne fruit.
Yeah,
because
it was such a good game to play at PAX.
Has been such a big focus of theirs. That
do you remember when we discovered throwing weapons and catching them out of midair?
Oh,
yeah.
And the developers were like, "We didn't know you could do that," and it was like, "Yeah."
Do you remember when I discovered friendly fire existed and kept hitting you with my super because it made me giggle?
It was funny though.
All right. Anyway,
that was weird.
I just thought you'd like to hear that.
Did you guys see the lights just go out in my room for a minute?
Sure did.
Yeah.
It's because you talked bad about Thor Jesus.
Yeah,
that was weird.
Thunder Jesus shut off your fucking electricity
for
a moment.
Electricity away.
Yeah, Jesus. Oh no! I'm sorry. I'm using this really old lamp, and my chair rolled over the cord. I guess that's what it was. All right, so we're starting to push up against our time here. I hope everybody in chat enjoyed our interview with Briana White. That was fantastic.
I'm very happy we got her on. I gotta say, I've been really excited. So for pretty much the entire time that I've been on SDGC, our guests have primarily been other media figures, so other writers and journalists and influencers and streamers and people like that. And I really like this trend where a couple weeks ago we had Davion Gooden on, so we had a developer of a game, and now we just had a voice actress. And I really like us kind of branching out into more than just fellow media figures. Like
other aspects of the industry.
Yeah.
Like what if we reached out to another voice actor from Final Fantasy VII Remake?
Could be fun.
What if we did? What if somebody pending the group?
What if you got me Matt Mercer? What if
somebody from the main cast of the game is interested, as long as the rest of the podcast is interested? Like, I don't know. It's an interesting question.
It probably can't be super because we don't want to like flood with guests, but like.
Oh
no,
yeah,
I say flood. Right, open those floodgates. Let's do it.
But
me?
Yeah, no.
Am I the main character?
Just maybe you should keep your ears open in the future. I don't know. Who knows? Anyway, does anybody have any Finn, you have no idea what I'm talking about. Does anybody have any? No, he doesn't. No, it's not Marlene.
You've talked about it in the group chats, dude. Like,
but no, this is something different. So does anybody have any? Derek, we got any housekeeping?
I'm gay.
Well, yeah, we know that. Like,
nailed it.
Yeah, I mean that's true.
That's all I got right now, man.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I hope everybody's doing okay. I hope everybody is
Wine is
staying
good.
isolated. washing your hands, staying safe,
Please be
staying
safe.
indoors. We need, and like all joking aside, we need every single one of you to be healthy.
Wash your fucking hands, and then when your hands dry out from washing your hands too often, put ointment on it, and then make them all shiny and greasy.
Get a little lotion on there.
Get some little greasy fingies going on.
Get a little lotion on there. But anyway, thank you so much, everybody who tuned in tonight. We had a blast talking to Briana, and we will get that. We will get this up on YouTube and all the usual podcast services as soon as we can.
I genuinely would have had this last episode up sooner, but I completely forgot. I had the time when I was at home. Work was just crazy, and we hit Wednesday, and then we're like, "Hey, when's that episode going up?" And I was like, fuck, I have not even downloaded the replay yet to do some editing.
Don't even sweat it, man. Don't even sweat it, dude. But again, thank you to Briana for being such a wonderful guest and being so accommodating with her time. We know that she is very busy, and we greatly appreciate it. And we're gonna do a community game night this weekend.
Okay.
We're going back to Mario Kart, I think. Because I need something I can laugh at, So we're doing another community game night Saturday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're gonna play some Mario Kart together, and we might even stream it. Who knows?
It'd be fun if you can make it work.
But at any rate, we got the link to the SDGC community Discord right there. We've got 230 something odd people in there now.
I haven't even bothered counting. We broke 200, and I was like.
Yeah, it's over 200. We got a lot of people in there. We got a lot of good channels in there. You can talk about games. You can talk about life, movies, television. We've got a channel for venting if things are just getting heavy for you and you need somewhere to unload.
We got an animal pictures channel.
We got animal pictures. We got all kinds of good
We got a food porn channel.
There's a lot of people talking about turnip prices and Animal Crossing.
And I will say this: I saw, and I see actually right now a lot of new faces in the chat. Do us a favor. Throw us you don't have to sub to us here, but
just check in next week and see what we're about when we don't have a super cool guest on.
Please.
Maybe we will.
Maybe we no. I mean, probably not next week, but feel free to throw us a sub if you want. Don't feel obligated to. We have a Patreon that helps get us to different conventions and provide coverage for everybody.
Not gonna be a lot of conventions anytime soon.
Not right now.
All that money is going towards equipment upgrades right now.
Right. Well, we
do need.
Yes.
But we also don't gate any of our content, so don't feel obligated to do that. We just like to talk about games with people, with all of you. And on that note, one more thing.
One other thing that helps us out a lot. If you leave us a review on your podcast service of choice, that helps us so much. It doesn't cost you anything. Just a quick review would mean the world to us.
Seriously, or that would be great. And one more thing, I've seen a lot of stupid Twitter drama recently with people involving podcast audiences and stuff like that. I just want to say thank you to everybody for being as cool and wholesome and just cool. We've got a small community, but I still think that we have the kindest, most accommodating community in the entire podcasting sphere. I love every single one of you,
you look at how intersectional our community is, like the fact that our community has a lot of non-white people, a lot of people who are not men, a lot of people who are not cis or straight. Like, we've got a very broad and varied community, and that doesn't happen unless both we are doing our jobs correctly to make it inviting and helpful to you all, and also that you are not making it inviting for each other. So I seriously thank you all for that. So
I know for me, what's important to me is not having the largest audience, but knowing our audience is the right people.
Yeah,
and especially since we have had the Discord, it has so reinforced that our audience is the right people.
We got the best fucking audience.
And like, it just makes me so happy because it means that we're doing what we want to do, the way we want to do it, and we're being successful at it. And being able to interact with all of you is so cool, and it's awesome. Thank you.
And I'll close it with this. I have said many times that if you're a content creator, I truly believe your audience is the best representation of your content. If you draw a shitty crowd, like some content creators do, then I think you're probably a pretty shitty person. But the fact that we have such an amazing group of people watching us really makes me feel good about myself. Because I have a lot of self-esteem issues. I've got a lot of things that I have done in my past that I'm not happy with, or things that I think about a lot, and I constantly question my self-worth. But every time I look in our Discord, or every time we go live Thursday, I see you guys in the Discord, I see all of you in chat, it really reinforces to me that I must be doing something right. We must be doing something right.
We're mostly white dudes. There's one white girl. Two of us are not straight. Like, this is a very vanilla crew for a podcast, admittedly.
Especially
we are every joke about a podcast being a group of white dudes.
I don't have a beard. I don't have a beard.
But despite that, we have an audience that reflects not nerdy white dudes, but reflects society, reflects all of us, that goes from people of color to women to queer people to trans people, and that tells me that even though we're a bunch of mostly white dudes, mostly cis dudes, mostly straight dudes, that we're collectively doing a good job of making this a place that you feel comfortable calling home. So,
damn it, Derek. Fuck. You always have to say it better than I do. Shit.
So, hey, since I'm on a roll, can I close it out?
We also have a sock puppet.
We have a sock puppet.
We do have sock puppet. We are decently big inside the sock puppet community.
We are. The sock puppet community loves us. And so Derek is going to do the sign off, but Derek, I want you to do it as Solid Snake with the uwu speak. Do it, Derek.
I can't do Solid Snake, but I'll get you to uwu.
No. You have to do just a gravelly voice. Gravelly voice. Everybody shut up.
It's not always poetry. And we don't always agree.
I can't do it. I'm laughing too hard. I gotta give you the uwu.
It's not always poetry, and we don't always agree, but we always keep it real. So until next time, be good to each other.
Oh, no.